Yo, it's time to step into the business bubble.
Mate, here it is. The moment.
Cheers, Steve. There we go.
Post Yum Cha bubble tea.
I love it. I could do this all day.
I think with the partner, like in terms of finding someone that when we got together, it's really interesting. I was just telling you before, she tried to break up with me in the first week. Man, who would break? I mean, look, if you just listen to audio,
who would want to break up with you,
There's
Steve?
a good-looking, very almost ancient Asian man sitting here.
Right? Not even Mr. Miyagi level
see,
yet.
Come
it's
on.
Just prime.
Come on.
You're in the prime.
Prime time. And you know what? Look, it's so funny that when our wives aren't here, we're saying anything we want.
That's right.
And they can't say anything. They have no right to reply. She's
they can't say
right
anything.
now, she's like, can you get over yourself right now?
Yeah.
Come on. Anyway, here's what happened. So we were there and we were dating and she tried to break up with me because she said that she wants to be a missionary to China. And she's like, unless you're going to be a missionary to China, because if I'm dating someone, this is serious. I'm going to head towards getting this thing serious. So if you don't want to be a missionary to China and go and live in some remote village somewhere and reach people with the greatest news on earth about Jesus Christ, that he's died for us and all that kind of stuff, and we can give our life to him. She says, if you don't want to do that, I'm out. She's like, I don't care that you might be a good-looking Mr. Miyagi right now, right? Not that I even was. She's like, I don't care. She's like, that's my deal. That's the roller coaster I want to be locked in on.
Dang.
And I'm like, that's it. And you know what the worst bit? Like, because I'm like, dude, I'm not going to China, right? I'm like, I wanted to do this thing in Sydney and build this up, but you know what? That made me go, okay, now I really want to date her. You see?
Yeah.
She made the fatal mistake, mate. She showed me the cards,
That's
which
right.
was like, this is what drives her. This is her passion.
Damn
and
straight.
I'm like, get on my roller coaster, baby. Now lock this one in. So I charmed and worked and did every single wheel and deal I could. But, you know, finding that person who has that core passion, now there's going to be differences and different things, and there's heaps of different stuff between Naomi and I. But finding that inner thing that drives you, the deep stuff of life. I don't mean like which is your favourite colour or what's your favourite bubble tea, you know, even though it might be 10:14 for all of you. See that? Hear that? Shall I slip that in?
Very good.
Product placement.
Very
Can
good.
you guys send me some free tea, please, for that?
I'll go across the road, ask for you.
Yeah, that's right. But, you know, finding that person who shares that core value, core values is the thing that really drives us. And it wasn't necessarily China, it wasn't necessarily ministry. Like the end product was by the by. It was that we had this faith and a desire to serve God at all costs.
Yeah.
And we're still doing that today.
Why is there a shift in the last few years where people are actually getting a little bit more spiritual? So it doesn't really matter, you know, what kind of faith background they are. Generally, I think people are looking into this and going, hey, you know, I want to meditate more. I want to be more spiritual, you know. And then that's where, you know, salts, tarot cards, all that stuff kind of come into play. Why has this last 5 years kind of been like that for a lot of people?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, in the last 5 years, we've had a small thing called COVID happen. And
what?
What is that? You haven't heard?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I'll let you know. It's something to do with your favourite, you know, I won't say, anyway. Look, it's just better not politically problematic what I was about to say. But it's just a small little bug that's been around.
All right.
Yep. I'll tell you about it later. If you know, I know English is only your second language, so I'll go easy. But
I only know it in Chinese. Yeah.
That's right. And I have to tell you, even the ginger soup doesn't fix it.
Hey, I probably was the one that brought it back. I was in China when it first started.
Well, you were there.
I was there because I was there during for the Chinese business for my English school.
You were
and then
there.
Everything shut down when I was there. And my wife was going, "You need to come back home
because she got ginger soup for you."
Because
she's like, "I've been boiling this thing for weeks and you haven't even gone home to drink it." Okay, going.
Yeah. And then so she said, "You better come home, otherwise they're going to shut these borders." And I'm going, "Oh, no, it's just a little flu." She goes, "No, they're calling this an epidemic now." It wasn't even a pandemic at that time.
You were there.
I was there.
My goodness, you might have brought it, man.
It was my fault.
It was your fault. Guys, we've solved it. If you want to know how it all began.
Came from the business bubble.
Business bubble. That's why you need to listen to this podcast.
That's right.
Otherwise known as hosted by the guy who brought COVID to the world. So let me tell you, this podcast is wild. This is going to be one of your wildest episodes, bro. Look at you. He's gone. He can't even laugh properly. Come on. Get him some more ginger soup. Wife, make some more ginger soup.
I got to that point where it's like a non-verbal laugh.
It's a non-verbal laugh. You can't even come out. You need more ginger soup. soup will fix that. So
Spirituality.
Spirituality. Thank you. So, oh man, this is why our yum cha went for 2 hours when we were only supposed to be there for like 30 minutes.
Oh, I'm done.
So spirituality. So this thing called COVID, right? So what's happened is the world's a totally different place.
Right.
And I think we're actually only starting to, and psychologists are saying as well, that we're right on cue, actually. It normally takes about two plus years or two years or so, a lot of psychologists say, for the effects of a traumatic event that anyone has in their life, for the effects of that to really start really showing themselves, showing symptoms of that. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So COVID, how far out are we from the heart of that now?
2020, so 23 years ago?
Yep. Right, so right on cue, people are starting to realise that actually we've all been shaken up more than we realised. We all went through it. We've all gone to the doing everything on video thing. We've gone to lockdowns. We kind of all just sort of gone into survival mode. But I think now we're starting to realise the emotional devastation, the impact that's happening. Now, what that means is, in many ways, COVID or otherwise, but people have lost. They're a bit lost right now. Everyone's a bit lost. The business world's kind of reeling. Everyone's trying to work out where we all stand. Some people are trying to do the same old thing. Some people are saying you can't do the same old thing. Everyone's just a bit lost. Everyone thinks the finance is about to crash. Everything's going to go crazy. Everyone just doesn't know what's happening. So the trauma's starting to come out. And what's happening, I think, in the midst of all of that is that people are looking for meaning. They're looking for something to make sense of this chaos, this roller coaster that we have all been on. And I actually think that that people, and particularly the next generation, interestingly, have started to lose faith in the traditional ways that people would engage with a higher power, that being God, and those ways normally have been traditionally through religious institutions, namely the church and things like that. Now, I'm all for the local church. I'm a believer in the local church, and so are you. And so I'm not by any means saying that that's where it should be. But what I'm saying is that is what's happening. So therefore, what we've got is two things. We've got a church, institutional church that's reeling already, trying to work out what is even happening and how does our church even function, both with COVID plus media attack plus all that kind of stuff. We've got the traditional church reeling, and trying to work out what they're doing, who are traditionally the means of how people connect to God, not for their salvation, but they meet Jesus. Then you've got a world who's saying, I need to make sense of what on earth is happening to my life, whether it be the emotional trauma of post-COVID, the depression, and all those things that are isolating everyone, or whether it's just how do I deal with my finances and the way that my business got busted up, or all these kind of things, right? There's people trying to work this stuff out, but they sense that there's something high, there's something that's needed more, right? But they can't get that from the institutional church, and they in fact have lost faith in that. Right. And the younger generation has. And so they're looking for meaning. And unfortunately, in my opinion, they've gone to tarot cards, spirituality in ways that are a new level of enthusiasm for that. And so what I want to say, mate, is that I actually think that if you're listening to this right now, and you're somebody who's just going, you know what, I just have a sense, I don't know what it is, that there's someone bigger out there that can make sense of this world, this chaos, whether it's relational chaos, whether it's business chaos, whether it's whatever it is, emotional, mental health chaos. There's someone who can make sense of that I need to find and meet. I'm going to tell you that spirituality, things like tarot cards and blah, 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 and going, fortune telling and the like, it's looking for in the stars is not going to be the place you're going to find it. And maybe the church has failed you and you might have thought, you know what, I can't find it there. I'm going to say to you, I want to embrace those things and say, look, I hear you, I feel you, but I want you to come to the person named Jesus. And he sits above all of that. He's the head of the church. He sits above the stars because he made them. And I want to say to you that you need to meet him. And even listen to this podcast right now, you might be like, you know what? I don't know why I'm listening to this podcast, but I feel something. I don't know why I've been listening to stuff about ginger tea and roller coasters. And good on you if you're still listening and got through all that, because this is where you're meant to get to go, hey, I need to meet this person, Jesus, because he will make sense of it. And you'll meet him as you read in the Bible. And I want to encourage you to meet him because he gave his life for you and he died for you and he's risen from the dead, and he makes sense of everything, and he feels you where you are at. And you'll probably sense something right now as you open your heart up a little bit. And so I just really believe that people are looking in the wrong places for something that is right to look for, which is someone to make sense of this mess that we're in. And it's really interesting because McCrindle Research, man, you should get them on that podcast. Mark McCrindle is one of the most significant social demographers in the country, doing stuff for everyone. I think they've worked with Disney. They shout out Disney. I think that's everyone. Like, they're huge. He's always on Sunrise, and they're always talking about stats. They predict stats for what's going to happen, whether it's from housing markets to population growth to demographics or anything. They do all that. They're like, and they have said, they have found, would you believe this, that the Google searches during COVID, the pandemic, for the words prayer, God, church, like all these things that are traditionally Christian words spiked. Like it's just because people are Googling. No, it's not Christians. People are just Googling. What is there here? What's happening? So there's a yearning. And so if you're listening to this, you're probably yearning and trying to work out what's up. And let me tell you, Jesus is up.
Amen. How do you take that from that faith aspect into the business sphere? Because there's always this taboo, right? Like even if I'm honest as well, like even with this podcast, like sometimes I just go, all right, do we cater towards business people, or do I just welcome this from my heart, things that are important to me as well, right? So how do people break that taboo? Going, all right, I'm a Christian now, I'm in the workplace. How do I communicate that message to people?
100%. I think one of the first things, it's similar to what we just talked about before, about integrity of two different types of lives.
Right.
I think one of the issues is that we've made a false dichotomy between the secular and the sacred. That is, we've sort of gone, well, there's my church side and God side of my life, and then there's this work side of my life. But actually, it's one life. It's one of the same. It's all God's. It's all God's space. And I think that that this podcast is doing a great job in helping us just move seamlessly between those two spaces, because it should be. In fact, it's actually other weird pressures from media and the like, and all the latest, just sort of pressures and caricatures of the church, dying and being irrelevant and all that kind of false stuff, that actually has caused it such that we have to, Christians even, if you're a Christian listening, have sort of believed that lie and gone on the back foot, which is sort of become like little Christian ghettos where we kind of have to just, like we're surviving in the Christian ghetto land, and then we go back out to work and come back in the Christian ghetto. It's not that. It's actually, that's a lie that as we've been caused to believe, it's actually one and the same. The secular and sacred are both God's spaces. They're not even, it's a false dichotomy to split them. And so actually what you live is what you speak, is how you are. How you are at church is how you are at pouring a water at the tap or standing by the printer, or whatever it is at work. And I think, it's about making those conversations not taboo. There's a boldness in it. I've just recently spoken to, met someone who totally not a Christian, Buddhist background, Buddhist mum, Buddhist grandparents, and a person just spoke to her literally in the break area. What do you call it? The kitchenette type area, and talked to her about Jesus as if it wasn't. It was just seamless. It wasn't, I'll work myself up. Okay, how do I slip this in? Just like you are doing this podcast. It's just like we're moving in and out of business chat and God chat and ginger tea chat and soup chat, and it's just not even, it's seamless. It's not even, and I think that's what it should be like. And she just did that. Guess what? She then came to church, gave her life to Jesus, and she got baptized, and then she brings her mum, and then her mum comes to Jesus, and it's all within the space of like 6 months. Those two get on fire, and then they bring their 85-year-old grandma who can't even speak. Now she's real Chinese. I mean, I'm talking about like Red Book back then. I'm talking about ginger soup is probably her staple diet. Right? I'm talking about that kind of Chinese, right? And she comes to Jesus, and they all get baptized on Easter. And I just think watching that happen shows you that began with somebody who just felt like at work, just in that hospital area that they're working, just boom, it's just the same thing. And I think we don't do that because we're so scared of rejection. We've believed the lie that if we hold our own and talk about our faith, that suddenly we're going to be labeled.
Yep.
And we might even lose the business deal. And hey, guess what? You might. Or you might find, pleasantly surprised, that people are going, oh, man, at least I finally found someone who is legit enough about their faith to say they are. You know, I spoke to a mum at the school athletics carnival yesterday, and her kid is one of my kids' best friends. They're not Christians. And I could feel the pressure, man. Dude, I'm an evangelist. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to, like, maybe if it was like another kid's friend who don't really know my kid really well. Yeah. But this would be best friend zone. So I'm kind of meddling. But I just went straight for it. I just said, hey, you know, I talked about the school motto, you know, yep, there it is, yeah, with body,
mind, spirit.
Yep, there we go. There it is. Good boy there, mate. You know, and I said, well, the spirit side is the interesting bit, because I said that's a bit that we're not focused on, and I think that, you know, she was really interested because he was talking about my second son, and he was Ducks of the Year, so he's obviously Asian. I'm on a little bit of Asian dad moment right there. Come on now, come on.
You have to slip that in, right?
Yeah, A+++++. and he's English second language now.
Wow. I just wanted to tell my parents that, hey, look, you know what? I never got ducks, but Steve's my friend, and his son got ducks.
Which makes
counts, right?
Effectively by
your Oscar, my Oscar.
Michelle Yeoh, we all got Oscars. We all got Oscars.
And so towards this lady, right?
That's right. And so because he did that, she was interested. And I said, hey, look, yeah, sure, his mind's great, and he's, you know, what's the other one? Body.
Body.
You know, like, you know, he's, you know, going after the whole sport thing, and he's in the A's and blah, blah, for basketball and soccer. So be like, oh, man, this kid's got it really going. I said, but you know what the thing that anchors all of that? I said, it's his faith, and that's our faith as a family. So I just started talking about Jesus. And by the end of it, she said, hey, she said, not me, she said, well, I want that maybe for my kid. So should he come to your, what do you call it, youth group or something, or whatever you call it? And I'm like, she's chasing me for this.
Yeah.
And only because I just said that's just part of who we are. But I could have run away. And who knows, that guy might end up being a pastor and leader, or who knows, or business leader, or some legend that'll be on the Business Bubble podcast one day. That's saying that's where it all began.
This lasts that long.
Oh, come on now. Where's the faith? Come on now.
All right. After this episode, boom.
Hello.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Michelle Yeoh, for promoting it.
That's right. And Ginger Tea. Thank you, my wife.
Ginger Tea. Thank you.
The young demographic these days, these Asians who are, you know, born here. I'd probably say some of them are second generation now, almost. They are going through a lot of distractions, and there's a lot of noise that's kind of in their field. What's your message to them, and how do they kind of come to terms with what's going on? Where do they start looking for purpose? Where do they start looking for what their dreams and goals are amongst all of this noise?
I mean, there is a lot of noise. And for Asians, I feel for them, because for the young guys anyway, I feel for all of them, but this is another old guy kind of moment. But just thank you. That's great.
It's fantastic.
Mr. Miyagi beard.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think for the young guys, just the noise from social media, the pressure that is to be a certain person, a certain way, is loud enough. But when you're Asian, you've already got this subconscious noise from learning a pattern where your parents, as loving as they may have been or may not, who knows, but because of our guilt, shame kind of culture, it's about bringing pride and doing well. So you've got that extra pressure. And I actually think that if you're an Asian listening to this, or have Asianness in you, or even a friend who has Asian ethnicity in them, then, you know, you can feel it for them too, and even help them out a bit with this, because changing that matrix and getting out of that and going, hey, look, you know what, I've actually been put on this earth for a purpose. That, you know, God, that's what I've been doing at Rice, telling people this, that, you know, for the last 20 years, that God made you in your mother's womb, Psalm 139, if you're a Bible reader, and it says that He made you fearfully and wonderfully. He decided to design you with a certain set of gifts and a certain set of passions, and He put them in you, and you, and that had design, that had purpose. He says in that passage in the scripture, it says He knit you together in your mother's womb. Knitting. I don't know anything about knitting, but I can tell you it's purposeful. It's not like he put you on a massive Chinese production line and just went
Conveyor belt.
like another one. Like, it's not that, man. He knit you. He handcrafted you. Why would he do that if he didn't have purpose for you? And so the question I've got, if you're listening, is what is your purpose? How do you break free of, while still respecting your parents? I'm not talking about rebel against parents. While respecting and honoring your parents, which is a great thing to do. And how do you think about that while not listening to the world, the social media world, saying you got to be this, got to be this, got to look this way, got to have this many followers? How do you actually grab hold of that and say, I'm going to be designed by how I'm going to live my life to the full with how God has made me, and I will believe that Jesus talks about that if you're following him and you give your life to him, it looks like living life to the full. It doesn't mean like living to the half, living it to the quarter. It actually looks like living life to the full.